We'll take our first agenda item, will be our City of Louisiana public presentation. Great.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, and Director Nichols. My name is Kevin James from our Northeast District, and I'm here today to introduce Mayor Bart Niedner from the City of Louisiana, who's been an important partner in our transportation system in the northeast part of the state, and he's here today to talk about the Champ Clark Bridge over the Mississippi River.
Mayor, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. I'd like to start by thanking the Commission for allowing me to speak on the importance of the Champ Clark Bridge. The cost of maintaining this bridge rises every year. This will leave us in the very near future with only two options. We'll either close this bridge or we'll replace this bridge. Because current economic impact statistics are no longer available through MERIC, I reached out directly to the businesses and the people in the area and across Northeast Missouri. My inquiry resulted in many quotes and responses, way more than I could possibly include here. In fact, I started with 10 pages and whittled it down to 4, and those were just the cream of the crop. Every single response that I got spoke to the importance of the bridge in their own lives, very specifically. This is truly a look at the issues from the street level, and it is about lives, not numbers. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the numbers. I found that the problem is well known, and citizens expect the state of Missouri to act on this issue. One local business owner says, quote, "It's unacceptable for our state to allow this bridge to close, especially when we are at a point where planning ahead will prevent this economic hardship." And while businesses see the effect on the economy, I heard from many citizens who noted the effect on rural life in and around our small Missouri cities. They worry that their heritage may be lost. They feel that the small towns relying on the bridge will slowly die and disappear if this bridge is closed. I was pleased to find that government is very aware at the state and the county and definitely the local level, which makes now absolutely the right time to focus on this problem. State Representative Jen Hansen underscored that the Champ Clark Bridge needs to stay at the top of our major funding list. He called it, quote, "critical to the economic security of Northeast Missouri and the state." Presiding Commissioner Chris Gamm of Pike County sees a priority from the breadbasket of the United States. He says that the Champ Clark Bridge is extremely important for the agricultural economy. Commissioner Gamm also noted that the loss of tax revenue would place a terrible burden upon local and county governments, who would still have their infrastructure and service needs to contend with. Government is aware right down to the very heart of rural Missouri communities. In quiet, scenic towns like Clarksville, we find someone like Mayor Joanne Smiley. She says that every single dollar is significant to her community, and the Champ Clark Bridge brings those dollars to Clarksville. Our major employers are very aware of the negative impact a bridge closure would bring. The 200-year-old historic business Stark Brothers has growing operations in Missouri and Illinois. They employ 250 people at peak season. That's a workforce drawn from both Missouri and Illinois. Their main facility is in Missouri, but they grow roughly 50% of their fruit trees in Illinois, just across the bridge. Their CMO, Ken Lane, says, quote, "Transportation back to Missouri shipping facilities is a considerable part of what we do, and keeping our costs down is the only way we can remain competitive." The CFO for Able Oil, who has stores in Louisiana, Bowling Green, and Ellsbury, quantified the negative effect temporary bridge closures have. He documents a 44% decline at the pumps when the bridge is closed. And I'll note that a 44% decline at the pump is also a 44% decline in the gas revenue upon which we use to support MoDOT. And even more interesting in this particular case, this is Illinois money paying for Missouri roads. Louisiana's largest employer is Fifth Gear Acquisitions. Their warehouse director, Jonathan Kuznets, gave me an accounting of the workforce costs when the bridge closes. 72 of their employees live in Illinois and cross the bridge daily. When the bridge is closed, the company pays a daily stipend to these employees, costing the company $5,000 a day, $26,000 over the course of a week of closure to this company. Fifth Gear also realizes that a significant closure of the bridge will result in permanent loss of the employees. The training costs to the replacement workforce would be in the neighborhood of $840,000 to this company. Additionally, the replacement salaries would cost the company another $100,000. Businesses are perhaps most aware of how the bridge affects access to their customers. Courtney Hunn of West End Financial puts it very succinctly, quote, "A good 1/3 of our loans are to people across that bridge." Karen Stuckley of Eagles Nest B&B estimates 45% of her overnight guests come across the Champ Clark Bridge. She sums it up, quote, "I cannot stay in business without that bridge." The Louisiana Visitors and Convention Bureau cites a study showing that Highway 54 via the Champ Clark Bridge is a route frequently used by tourists that are traveling from central Illinois and Chicago to reach some of the most popular Missouri travel destinations, such as Branson and the Lake of the Ozarks. This bridge isn't serving just northeast Missouri, it's important to the whole state. About 80% of Trailerman Trailers products leaves by way of Champ Clark Bridge. Owner Mary Perkins estimates that this represents $6.9 million in revenue. One of the most significant competitive advantages Trailerman enjoys is that they are further east and north than most of their competitors who are located in Oklahoma and Texas, who we compete with. Ms. Perkins pulls together the importance of the bridge with a quote, "The permanent closure of the Champ Clark Bridge would be something from which we feel we could not recover." Anna Lauer of Twin Pike YMCA points out that their entire business model, right down to their name, relies on the bridge. She concludes that without the bridge, the Twin Pikes YMCA, serving Pike County, Missouri and Pike County, Illinois, would not be possible. Rob Cox, an Illinois contractor who crosses the bridge to purchase materials from a Missouri lumber yard, says a permanent bridge closure would force him to find new suppliers on the Illinois side. When the bridge has been closed for floods, Kate's Attic, an antique store, sees its business drop to almost nothing. Proprietor Nancy Evans says, quote, "I feel very strongly that if we were to lose the bridge, I would be out of business." And there's countless others expressing similar concerns about accessing their customers. Businesses would also lose access to critical suppliers. Press Journal Printing receives numerous truckloads of raw materials across the bridge each day. Without the bridge, transporting their supplies would cost more. They would have to pass that expense on to their customers, thereby becoming less competitive. And such a problem works its way down through the chain. They indicate that such a scenario would result in a workforce reduction to compensate for the loss of revenue. From a small business like Fowler Lumber, which gets windows and screens repaired by Pike County Glass in Pittsfield, Illinois, to large businesses like Stark Brothers Nursery, whose trucks haul millions of trees across the bridge each year, to the Illinois farms that bring grain to Missouri's Bungie Elevator across that bridge, it is a connected supply chain which spans the river via the Champ Clark Bridge. A closure of the bridge would greatly affect access to a needed workforce and employment opportunities. Access to a critical labor force can severely hamper our economic growth. A manufacturing company near Louisiana has 42 employees and draws 8 of those from Illinois. They have the sales ability currently to grow twice their current size, but limited skilled labor is holding them back. If the bridge closed, they would lose a critical portion of their labor, and that this would further stunt Missouri's economic growth. And it's important to note that the bridge is about the river and rail also. It's not just highways. A port manager shared frustration that because of the current weight restrictions placed on the bridge, their Louisiana terminal is not considered an unloading location for supersized load projects from barges. He notes that access to this type of bulk material and the large manufacturing equipment that they can bring in by barge has an important impact on the region's economic potential. Quote, "Our private port facility can provide an important avenue of economic growth for Northeast Missouri, but only if that terminal is not cut off and isolated." As another example, this year the city of Louisiana, my community, contracted with an economic developer. We spent $58,000 and asked them to figure out where we can be competitive. What they brought back to us was that we could be competitive with our transportation infrastructure. We have the highway, the bridge, we're right there on the river. We have 2 Class 1 railroads. But if we lose the bridge, and that's basically Highway 54, that would all but eliminate Louisiana's potential for economic growth. It's critical. But it isn't only about the economy. This is an integrated social fabric made of real people with real and important relationships. Many of these relationships go back 100 years. I heard from people with shared custody who need the bridge to exchange their children. Imagine having to add 2 hours to your drive to simply exchange a kid twice a week. I heard from people who have regular Sunday dinners or other family events right across the bridge. Ronnie Bryant gives a good example. She says, my 89-year-old grandpa wouldn't be able to visit his sisters in Pittsfield and Pleasant Hill, or them visit him. This is deeply personal. As another example, Matthew Hamby, a youth minister who's passionate about what he does, moved to the Louisiana area specifically so that he could serve the youth in both Illinois and Missouri. You can't measure this human factor by counting beans, but it is just as real as any economic metrics. And action is urgently required. Stephanie Wademan laments, quote, "I hate that bridge. I cannot cross it because it gives me panic attacks. I'm deathly afraid of it collapsing. I need to be medicated to go across." And we might be tempted to chalk this up to oversensitivity. I even grinned when I read it the first time, but it isn't. Cameron Brown knows all too well what's at stake. Quote, "That old bridge was part of the reason my son Kyle was killed trying to avoid a logging truck in December 2011. The bridge has taken lives and injured those who risked the crossing." Which brings me back to our 2 options. We will either close the bridge or we will replace the bridge. The economic price is too high to let this bridge be closed. The human cost is too dear to allow this bridge to be closed. On behalf of Northeast Missouri, and indeed all of Missouri, I ask that the Commission put replacement of the Champ Clark Bridge at the very top of its state funding list. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions from any commissioners?
No, but thank you for your report, Mr. Mayor, and we hear you loud and clear. And it just seems like every month we hear the same thing from some other community, and it just points to the dilemma that we face today with funding, and we'd like to be able to deliver all these projects. And that lady that lost her son, that's tragic.
Anything I can do or Pike County can do to help get that message out, let us know.
Thank you.
You made your point loud and clear.
Any other questions or comments from any commissioners?
One thing that I appreciated hearing, Mr. Mayor, because I kind of lose track of, we focus on this commission always first on safety, and when it comes to bridges, that for me is the first thing that comes to mind is safety, but you really underscore the economic impact when we have an underfunded highway system and bridges that can't be fixed, repaired, or kept open. Tremendous economic impact. So thank you for that.
Several employers mentioned that these weight reductions that have happened recently have simply shifted their business to their competitors. It's very real.
Yeah, it was pretty stunning to me to hear that if the bridge is out, that's a 2-hour trip to get across that river, and how much over the last, I guess, 90 years or so that the bridge has been in place. That's, the community is developed around that bridge, and that you would rip apart families and businesses without the bridge. Dave, I was going to ask you, can you kind of update us on where
I would like to, first of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for taking the time to come. Obviously, the Champ Clark Bridge, you saw the pictures and you've heard Dennis's presentations before. on these major structures and the challenges that we have. And the Champ Clark Bridge is obviously very high on the list of priorities for major bridges that we have. And we're very near the completion of the environmental study. As you know, that's the very first step that has to happen. This being a bi-state bridge, we've worked with the state of Illinois DOT in partnership, and it's a high priority bridge for them also. And so at the end of the day, the challenge is it's not about timing. We're ready to go. Illinois is ready to go. Our challenge is we need the funds to be able to replace the bridge. And that's the bottom line, just like so many of the other projects that we have around the state.
And we don't have those funds.
We do not have those funds. And that's disappointing to say.
What's the cost on that?
I believe our share is maybe $35 million.
30 million per state.
So not outrageously expensive when you're talking about a major river crossing. It just happens to be in a location that makes it economical, relatively speaking. But a major river bridge like this is, it can be done, but it just shows you the challenge that we're facing. And we're ready to go, and Illinois is ready to go, and our issue is we don't have the money to do it.
Thanks, Dave.